Dun, 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 dun. All rise in the presence of the king. Prepare for the king. All rise. Dun, 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 dun. All rise in the presence of the king. All rise.
Well, what are you waiting for? Don't you know enough to rise in the presence of a king?
I've heard
There.
some... Oh.
That's better. For a minute there, I thought you had no manners.
I've heard some places don't have kings. Maybe Janesville is one of them.
No kings in Janesville? How uncivilized. No wonder they don't know what to do. Show them at once. I'd like to get on with the stories I've come to tell and cannot very well do so until I've been properly greeted.
When I say 3, I'd like to see the best bows and curtsies you can manage. Ready? Okay. 1, 2, 3.
Good, very good. By royal command, you may now be seated. Next I'll tell you a story of another king.
Sorry, Your Majesty, but needn't they rise for the next king?
I think not. One king in a day is enough.
Anything else, Your Majesty?
No, not now. That's better. Pride is an important quality in its place, but the downfall of lesser beings. My daughter, the royal princess, learned this lesson very well. Foolish girl. She was far more haughty and proud than one of the royal blood ought to be. Something had to be done about it. She already turned down at least a dozen suitors, and I knew that I must take stern action, or the princess would never marry at all.
Oh,
And I, of course, shall have no heirs to the kingdom. So I gave her one final chance. One day, I invited the very finest noblemen in all of the land to come to the palace.
Oh, Father, is that the best you can do for me? Goodness, what a dreary-looking lot. Each one was worse than the last. Surely you cannot expect me to choose one of those.
Surely I can. This is our last chance, daughter. You will choose one of these, or I will choose a husband for you, and you might be very sorry.
Never. No one you choose could be any worse than this one. Too thin, too red, too tall, too pale, too short? No, not one of them will do. Kindly remove them from my royal palace.
I do not understand you, daughter. Only yesterday you turned down the richest king in all the land.
Richest, yes. But oh, Father, he was so funny looking. Did you see that silly little pointed beard? It was so like the beard of a thrush. Why, I almost expected him to chirp, King Thrushbeard.
Laugh at a king, will you? Remember, daughter, this was your final chance. I decree that you will marry the next man's voice who is heard in the palace.
First things first. I hear a voice now, Father. Rather a croaky one, if you ask me. Surely you cannot expect me to marry anyone with the voice like a frog. Even if he is the richest, handsome king in the land, I demand nothing less than perfection.
You may demand whatever you'd like, daughter, but my word is final. You shall marry the man who sings like a frog, and you shall be lucky if he doesn't look like a frog as well. You out there! The king demands your presence at once. You shall be handsomely rewarded for your serenade.
I'm glad my humble song has pleased you, Your Majesty, and I hope Her Royal Highness the Princess enjoyed it as well. I need no further reward than her pleasure. But if you were to spare a few alms...
Alms indeed! Father, send him to the kitchen and then get him out of my royal sight. He's nothing but a beggar, and a filthy one at that.
Really, daughter? Is that a way you speak of your future husband?
My husband? Father, you didn't really mean...
The word of the king is final. By royal command, you shall be married this very day and expelled from the palace forever.
Forever?
You cannot expect me to claim a beggar's wife for my daughter, can you? Go now, prepare for the wedding.
I am honored, Your Majesty. Perhaps the princess would like another song in celebration of this happy occasion?
No. One was quite enough, thank you. But just think, Now you can spend the rest of your days serenading the princess.
Ugh.
Go, find the parks and be married at once. And then, my daughter, I shall bid you farewell forever.
But father!
Forever! I shall have a wife to work for me forever. Come, my sweetheart, you may begin at once. I have a tiny hut for us to live in, and it needs a thorough cleaning. After that, you can get on scrubbing the pots and cooking the meals, and the fireplace is in need of a good sweeping out. And then there is some wool you slip on into cloth.
Poor haughty princess. It was a cruel thing I did to her, wasn't it? But even a princess must learn to be humble if she is to grow into a worthy human being. And she learned. Oh, how she learned.
On the very first day, it was a long and tiring journey, for of course beggars do not own coaches and horses, and all along the way, the princess was reminded of her foolishness.
What a beautiful forest! Oh, husband, may we rest here? I am so weary. I am not at all accustomed to walking, you know, and it is so cool and lovely here. May we...
Certainly not. The lord of this fine forest, King Thrushbeard, as you call him, would be greatly angered to find a pair of lowly beggars resting here.
All this belongs to King Thrushbeard?
All of this and more. Do you see that beautiful city gleaming at us through the trees?
King Thrushbeard is lord of a whole city?
That and several others. You can see one of his palaces there, on top of the highest hill.
A golden palace! Oh, how beautiful it is! And to think that I might have married King Thrushbeard. I might have been queen of all this. I might have lived in a golden palace high on a hill.
You might indeed have lived in a palace, but you were foolish enough to mock the king. And so you're going to live in a beggar's hut instead.
But
Come.
I can't live here. I'm a princess.
You are a beggar's wife, and this is a proper place for a beggar's wife. It needs a bit of cleaning, as you can see. But at first, I would like a bit of supper. The kettle is over here.
But where are the servants?
Beggars are their own servants, dear wife. Didn't you know that? Now, if you'll just scrub the cooking pot, dig a few potatoes out of the ground, chop some wood for a fire.
But I don't know how to do any of those things.
Then you'll have to learn. I will not have a lazy wife. Get to work. Please, scrub the cooking pot. Here.
But scrubbing will ruin my delicate hands.
They will toughen in the garden soil. My dear, while you are digging out the potatoes. Now, start peeling the potatoes. I want my supper.
I don't know how to peel potatoes, and I don't know how to cook.
Then you'll have to learn. I shall take you to the palace of your father, and there you will become a kitchen maid.
Kitchen maid? But I cannot be a servant in my own palace. I am the daughter of the king.
True, but you're also the wife of a poor beggar man. You must earn your keep. If you work hard, good wife, perhaps the cook will let you bring home a few scraps. And then you will be of use to me. Come, you'll be just in time.
In time? For what?
To wash the royal dishes, my love. There's a great banquet in the palace today. 500 noble guests, and...
500 guests? Would that not mean 500 dishes?
Of course. And 500 cups, and 500 goblets, and a kitchen full of blackened pots and pans. Really nothing any capable kitchen maid couldn't finish in a dozen hours or so.
A dozen hours? 500 plates? Oh, how low my foolish pride has brought me.
Poor princess. It was a long time before her work was done, and oh, how dreadful and weary she looked as she gathered up the few scraps the cook had given her and prepared to take them home. See her now in the doorway, peering in at the great banquet hall, remembering her days as a princess. To think she might have been a queen.
And now she's nothing but a ragged kitchen maid with an apron full of scraps.
There you are, lovely lady. From the moment I saw you enter the kitchen door, I knew I must have you for my queen. Come, dance with me now, and then the wedding may begin.
Surely you have made an error. I'm nothing more than a lowly kitchen maid. I could not presume to dance with a king.
It is not a dancing partner I seek. It is a queen. Come. Let the music play. What beautiful robes we brought for the new queen. Let the wedding begin.
Your Majesty, I am married already. I am the wife of a poor beggar, and
You are my wife, too.
I do not understand, Your Majesty. I am the wife
Of a beggar and a king. For we are, dear lady, one of the same. It was for love of you that I disguised myself and made you believe yourself the wife of a lowly beggar. It was all for love.
Love? What kind of love is it? That could have brought me nothing but humility and shame.
Only one that loved you could see the kind heart that lay beneath your foolish pride. You have grown strong now, and through your efforts to please others, and you will be a wise and loving queen. Can you understand now what I have done? Can you forgive me for what you took to be cruelty?
Forgive? Why, yes. It was not cruelty at all. I know now that a true queen should be humble enough to serve her people as well as to rule them, and I shall try to do both.
Let us begin our new life together then. Go now and prepare yourself for a proper wedding. I will summon court musicians, and there will be a great ball in the palace, and for the rest of our days.
And we will live happily ever after.
And that is exactly what happened. The princess mended her wicked ways, and so she was rewarded with a long and happy life. But not all of the characters in Grimm's fairy tales end out the same way. And sometimes they do not mend their wicked ways. And then, do you suppose they live happily ever after just the same? Not at all.
Let us tell you what happened to another haughty woman. Not a princess this time, but a simple fisherman's wife. She and her husband lived in a dreadful little cottage at the edge of the sea. And every day the fisherman went down to the sea to catch fish for supper and sell at the marketplace.
One day, we had caught not so much as the tiniest fish in all his nets. He flung a line over the seawall, hoping to catch and take home at least one fish to his hungry wife. Suddenly, to his great surprise, there was a mighty jolt on the end of his line, the mightiest jolt he had ever felt.
What huge creature could this be? He pulled, and on, oh what a struggle. And then, just as he felt he could pull no more, the biggest flounder he'd ever seen suddenly reared its head out of the water and hopped across the sea wall.
Let me go, fisherman! Let me go!
It talks! A fish that talks! What have I caught? Surely no ordinary fish.
I beg of you, fisherman, let me go. I am no common fish to take home for supper. I am an enchanted prince and ruler of the deep. Let me return now to the bottom of the sea, and you will be sorry.
Of course, at once, your highness. I am only a humble fisherman, and would do no harm to a prince. Go, back to your underwater kingdom, and forever be free.
You have a good heart, fisherman. I will remember this.
Was the right thing to do, but now I haven't any fish to take home to my wife. I can see her in the doorway, and waiting for her supper, and there is an angry look on her face.
There you are at last. The fire's been going for an hour and I have nothing to cook. What did you catch for me today?
Only one fish, dear wife. I'm sorry, but it was a flounder, the very biggest flounder I've ever seen, and it...
But where is it? I see no flounder.
Alas, I had to put him back.
Put him back? Why? When we are near starvation.
Because he spoke to me. He told me he was an enchanted prince. How could I bring an enchanted prince home for our supper?
But did you ask him for anything? An enchanted prince can grant wishes. Anyone knows that. And if you did a kindness for him, surely he will grant you whatever you want. Go back now, you foolish man, and ask him for something.
For what? All I did was let him go. It was a simple deed of kindness. No more.
Go and ask him. Ask him for a pretty cottage. I'm tired of living in this hovel. Go and be quick about it.
Oh, enchanted flounder, ruler of the deep, will you speak with this poor fisherman?
Of course I will speak with you. A prince does not forget kindness. Just tell me what you want in return, and it shall be yours.
If it would not be too much, my good wife would like a pretty cottage, if that is not too much to ask.
She has one. Turn around and see for yourself.
Oh, how lovely it is. A pretty garden, a sitting room full of furniture, a larder full of food, pretty curtains, chickens and ducks in the yard. Oh, how lovely it is. Isn't it nice?
There could be no grander house anywhere. To me, it is a castle.
A castle? What a fine thing that would be. Just think, husband. If the flounder could grant us a cottage, then surely he could make it a castle instead. Yeah. And then you can be king.
But I have no wish to be king. I'm a humble fisherman, and that's quite enough for me.
Then I will be king. Go now and ask him and wish a castle for me with servants, a throne, and a crown. Everything a king should have. Hurry.
O mighty prince of the sea, ruler of the deep, will you speak with me once more?
What now, fisherman? Is not the pretty cottage enough for you?
Oh, it's quite enough, mighty prince, quite enough for me. But my wife is not content. She would like a castle. If that would not be too much, just a small one would do, I'm pretty sure.
Go home now, fisherman. Go home to your castle, and to your wife, the king.
Oh, just look! Marble floors, furniture all made of gold, walls hung with tapestries, long tables laden with food and wine, all for me. Servants to do my bidding, and oh, best of all, a throne, my throne. Fetch me my royal robes and my crown. I am the king.
I hope you will not be satisfied, wife. With a whole kingdom of your very own, what could you possibly want?
An empire.
What?
An empire, yes. I should now like to be emperor over all the world so that even kings will bow down before me. Go, husband, and ask the founder to make me emperor.
No, the flounder is growing angry, wife.
Your Majesty.
He's growing angry, your majesty. The sea turns dark and strange when he appears, and his look, his face, a terrible look. I can ask him no more.
Then I command you. Go now, lowly fisherman, and do the king's bidding at once.
Yes, your majesty, I will try. It is too much. Just feel the wind beginning to blow. I can barely make my way to the sea. I call you once more, mighty prince of the deep, just once more. The king commands me.
Your wife is a foolish woman, fisherman. What more could she possibly want than to be a king?
Only one.
What is there that is any grander than that?
Only one thing, O majesty. There's only one thing grander than a king. My wife now wishes to be emperor.
But your wife has already been made a king.
Oh yes, your highness. But she has found the kingdom rather small and
now she wants an empire?
oh,
Is the kingdom not big enough for her?
it's a very sizable kingdom, good prince. Indeed it is. But it's only a kingdom. My wife now wishes to
Yes.
rule the world. My wife now wishes to be emperor of the whole world.
Go home, fisherman. Go home and see what awaits you.
Everything as it was. We're home.
No! I live in a palace, not this awful fisherman's hut. Oh, where are my fine robes, my crown, and why are you not bowing before me?
Why would I bow before my wife?
Wife? But I was the king. I had a castle, servants, a royal throne, and then...
And then you asked for too much. So you asked for what no one has ever asked before, so you ended with nothing.
Oh, if only I'd been satisfied with that little kingdom. It was a nice castle. It would have done.
The little cottage would have done too. There was chickens and ducks and a larder full of food, all we'd ever need. That we had it as a scrap to eat. Go now, greedy wife, mend my nets. Perhaps I can catch us some fish for our supper.
I will go. But husband, if you happen to catch a flounder and it happens to be an enchanted prince...
No!
Just the cottage, only the cottage.
Go, and never let me hear you make another wish.
Poor, foolish woman. If she could have been grateful for what was given to her, and not greedy for the impossible, she might have lived happily ever after.
But in the world of the Brothers Grimm, it is only the good who are rewarded. And the fisherman's wife never learned the meaning of gratitude or even simple human kindness. If she had, then they might both have lived as happily as their good neighbors, the shoemaker and his wife.
Poor foolish woman. If she could have been grateful for what was given to her, and not greedy for the impossible, she might have lived happily ever after.
But in the world of Brothers Grimm, only the good who are rewarded. And the fisherman's wife never learned the meaning of gratitude or even simple human kindness. If she had, then they might both have lived as well as their good neighbors, the shoemaker and his wife.
They were good, hard-working people, both of them, but they were very poor. One night, when he had sold the very last pairs of shoes in his shop, the shoemaker discovered a dreadful thing. At once he called his wife.
Hilda, come here.
Yes, husband? I am here. Is it your supper you want?
Alas, yes, but there is no money to buy food, and so we shall have to do without. I have spent our last pennies buying leather to make more shoes. And look, this is all I have, just enough for one pair.
But it's fine, Mother. Perhaps, if you make a truly beautiful pair of shoes, then tomorrow you can ask for a higher price.
No, my hands shake from hunger, and my work is not good anymore. No one pays high prices for the poor shoes I make. Besides, I am too weary even to try. I shall just leave the scraps here, and in the morning I will do the best I can.
In the morning you will be refreshed, and all night long we can dream of the beautiful shoes you will make tomorrow. Come, husband, let us rest now. Soon it will be morning. Come quickly, brother. There's no one about. The shop is empty. The lights are out. Come quick before the rising sun will peek in the window and spoil our fun.
Here's a hammer and nails, and needles and thread. It's all we need for the task ahead.
I will hammer and you will sew. Pick up your needle.
To work we'll go!
Cut out the leather and give it a pat.
You do this and I'll do that.
Hammer the heels, stitch up the soles. You make the laces.
And I'll make the holes.
Sew up the seams and sew them up tight.
You do the left and I'll do the right.
Did ever you see a more beautiful shoe?
As fine as the very best cobbler could do.
Now finish the other and then there's a pair
of shoes a king would be happy to wear.
But what is that light?
The rising sun. The night is over.
And we must run.
What is this? Look, Hilda, look! A beautiful pair of shoes all finished and ready to be sold. Where did they come from?
Oh, poor husband. You got up in the night and worked until dawn, didn't you?
I did not, and if I had, I could never have made a beautiful pair of shoes as these. Just see the fine stitching. Far too fine for my tired eyes. I wonder.
Quick, hold them up, husband. A customer is looking in at your door. Let him see what fine shoes he will find here.
Beautiful, beautiful. Never did I think to find such handsome shoes in a tiny village. I shall take them at once, and I shall like to order 2 more pairs exactly like these. If you can do them by tomorrow morning, when I must be on my way.
But when you pay, sir, I shall have money enough only to buy leather for one pair.
Then I shall pay you twice as much they're worth. Here, will this be enough?
Oh yes, sir. I shall buy new leather at once, and work all night if need be.
Good day, and Godspeed!
What good fortune! But husband, can you do the work in time? Will you have the strength enough to sit through the night?
I must try. A miracle happened last night. Perhaps it will happen again.
If we have faith in ourselves, perhaps it will. Go now and buy leather. I will tidy the workbench while you are gone. My poor, hard-working husband. He was gone a long time, buying just the right leather, new thread, sharper needles. And when he returned, he began his task at once. But he could not finish. Long after midnight, the shoes were barely begun, and my husband came sorrowfully to bed, knowing he had failed. But while we both slept, a miracle happened once more. Hammer and sew, hammer and sew. You do the heel.
And I'll do the toe.
Sew as fast as you can, my brother. When one pair's done, we'll need another.
Hammer and sew, finish them now.
And off we go. See, it happened again.
And when the customer paid for them, there was enough money to buy leather for 4 pairs of shoes. And when they were sold, there was enough for 8. My husband worked as hard as ever, but when he left his work undone at night, it was always finished in the morning.
How did they come there? We didn't know. And so one night we hid ourselves behind the curtain to watch. Suddenly they came.
2 sprightly little elves singing as they worked, sewing new shoes until dawn.
At once we decided to reward them for all they had done. For many days we worked, sewing little jackets and trousers and shirts.
And then we left the gifts on the workbench and hid ourselves behind the curtain to see their happiness.
Oh, look, my brother. Look and see. Look and see what's waiting here for you and me. 2 pairs of shoes.
Oh, just our size.
And clean new shirts.
What a fine surprise.
Trousers and jackets all made of leather.
Here's a hat with a bright red feather. One for you and one for me.
Was anyone ever as happy as we?
2 others, yes, it's very clear. Our work has pleased the good folks here. There's nothing more to do, my brother.
Then so we'll go and help another.
The king, all prepare for the king, prepare for the royal majesty. The king, for the entrance of the king.
Thank you, good friends and loyal subjects. You may be seated once more while I tell you what happened to all the people you met today. Come, fishermen, tell us whether your wife mended her wicked ways and was rewarded by a life of happiness.
Alas, your majesty, my poor wife has not fared as well as your daughter, but she is content just the same. She has learned that nothing in the world is given to those who merely wish and do not work, so she has labored uncomplainingly at my side for many long years. Soon we will have enough money saved to build ourselves a pretty cottage and I know it was all we will ever want, and for the rest of our days we will live as happy as our good neighbors. Come, shoemaker, tell us how you and your wife prospered.
As well as we ever dreamed.
And all because of those little elves who helped us in our time of need.
Because of you, our lives are bright.
And everything has ended right.
How sad, how sad.
But why sad, your majesty, when all of our stories have ended so happily?
I am sad because they've ended at all, and endings mean farewells. It is time for us to go, and that is what makes me sad.
Would a fanfare cheer, your majesty? All before we go, shall we all rise in farewell for the king?
A fanfare would be a splendid way to say farewell. But wait, this time there will be a difference. Even a king may learn the meaning of kindness and respect for others, and you, my friends, have been most kind to me today. And so, it is my turn to bow to you.
Dun, 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 dun.